From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
Good Thursday morning. It's 5 o'clock. Welcome to Montana This Morning. I'm Victoria Hill. So very happy to be back with you. Well, our top story this Thursday morning, with new evidence that vaccines lose effectiveness over time and the Delta variant raging, federal health officials are now recommending COVID-19 booster doses for everyone who's fully vaccinated. CBS's Ian Lee has more.
Americans will soon be able to get coronavirus booster shots.
It's the best way to protect ourselves from new variants that could arise.
Starting September 20th, pending approval from the FDA, the shots will be offered to people who receive the Moderna or Pfizer vaccines as long as 8 months have passed since their second dose. A booster plan is still being developed for recipients of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine.
You don't want to find yourself behind playing catch up. Better stay ahead of it than chasing after it.
Federal health officials cited recent studies showing the vaccine's protection lessens over time. They also stressed the importance of getting immunized.
One thing is very clear. Getting vaccinated can keep you out of the hospital. Getting vaccinated can save your life.
Most experts agree medically they see no downside to getting a booster dose.
At the end of the day, is it going to be harmful? No. Is it going to be effective? Possibly, but probably more effective in some groups.
The World Health Organization, though, has expressed concern there may be a downside, that Americans getting third shots will take vaccines away from countries that don't have enough initial doses yet.
I do not accept the idea that we have to choose between America and the world. We clearly see our responsibility to both.
The Biden administration says it has sent more than 110 million doses overseas and plans to donate 500 million more. Ian Lee, CBS News.
The World Health Organization insists it'll take around 11 billion doses worldwide to control the pandemic. To date, nearly 200 million Americans have received at least one shot. That's about 60% of the total population. In Montana, over 450,000 people are fully vaccinated. That's 49% of the population. The rise in vaccination numbers here in Montana unfortunately goes hand in hand with a rise in cases. Yesterday, the state reported 436 new infections. 58 of them were here in Yellowstone County. There have been at least 800 new positive tests in the county already this month. That's very high compared to last month when there was a total of 451 cases. 56 patients are in Billings hospitals right now. More than 200 are hospitalized across the state. Meanwhile, there could be a scientific breakthrough on the horizon that could help prevent new viruses like COVID-19 before they start. Reporter Michelle London shows us why there's so much hope in something called a universal vaccine.
This machine allows us to look at each individual yeast cell.
Researchers at this lab at the University of Colorado in Boulder are working to create history.
Pretty consistently, there's someone using this.
They've developed a first-of-its-kind scientific tool that could one day save lives all over the world with one shot.
We've developed a way to identify mutations on the SARS-CoV-2 virus that can evade antibodies.
SARS-CoV-2 is the virus that causes COVID-19. Tim Whitehead leads this study. He says identifying these mutations early can help them get ahead of different variants of the virus, one day helping to protect humans from more dangerous strains.
So instead of playing catch up with the virus, we can go and give you that shot ahead of time. We're going to catch the virus ahead of where it's going to go.
To understand the effectiveness of vaccines and antibody treatments, this model of the coronavirus illustrates how its spiked proteins latch onto human cells, leading to an infection. But antibodies actually prevent those proteins from binding to the cell. But when that same virus mutates, the antibodies no longer recognize it and fail to protect against the virus.
We'd like to be able to know ahead of time whether that treatment is likely to work. And we can do that by already mapping the mutations that this antibody treatment works against.
Here in this lab, to match those mutations, they're using a secret weapon called baker's yeast.
And so each of these dots is like an individual yeast cell.
Here's how the new tool works. On the surface of yeast, Whitehead and students designed a genetically modified version of a material to recreate the SARS-CoV-2's viral spike proteins. From these modified proteins, they're able to track mutations when they form, or escape antibodies. Their goal, unlike what happened with the pandemic, is to beat these variants before they develop in the real world.
A universal vaccine would include a high immune response against all possible variants.
And researchers here are one step closer to making it happen.
The next step is to identify escape mutants from the patient's own set of antibodies.
A step towards making a priority for leading health experts a reality. I'm Michelle London reporting.
Thank you, Michelle. Now it's time to turn our attention to weather. Miller joins us here on the set. I think he's making sure his computer is in the right spot.
My computer's not working well this morning. Oh,
it's my curse.
Welcome back.
I'm here.
Did you come in here this morning and hit this with a hammer?
Well, I had an on-air nightmare before I got in this morning, and I was telling the guys about it, and they're like, just stop right now before stuff starts to fall apart.
Well, it's starting to fall apart. Do you know any show tunes? You might want to sing one real quick. Hold on a second. Let me run back here.
All right. Well, I'll let Miller, and I will now go through a slideshow of my trip to Chicago.
Do you have a slideshow? Really?
No, I don't. But that's where I was.
All right, here we go.
Yeah. All right.
Now we got it. Okay.
Whew, saved everyone from 4 hours of boredom there.
Well, there's my exercise, just running back and forth there. I'm already blowed up. How about that? All right. So this morning we've got some rain in the area. You can see the clouds. We actually may see a little bit of fog this morning too. It's very, very humid. A lot of moisture we're tapping into. So we do have some rain. 50 right now at the airport. Look at that humidity. 93%. The dew point's at 48. When your dew point and your temperatures get close together like that, you have a chance to see that fog. Winds out of the east at about 5 miles an hour. Quickly, let's crunch some numbers. Yesterday, our high got up to 59. That was a record minimum temperature for our high yesterday. Beat the record of 61 back in 2005. Livingston had a record as well. You only got up to about 53. And let's see, today in Billings, Livingston, Miles City, and Cody, we could all see record minimum temperatures again today. Yesterday, we got over a half an inch of rainfall, and we've got more rain in the forecast. How long is it going to last, and are we warming back up? Do we see any more 90s in the forecast?
Oh, gosh.
I'll let you know. Come on.
This weather was long overdue,
it
was super pleasant to come back to. And it's like, well, it's a dark, gloomy day. I mean, continue on, please, because we really
definitely need the cool temperature and need the moisture. So bring on the rain.
Yes, yeah. All right, Miller. Well, thank you so much for that great update. I will get back to the news.
All right, and welcome back, kiddo.
Thank you, Miller. Well, in education news, masks will be optional for Billings K through 8 teachers and staff when they return to school on Monday. Superintendent Greg Upham approached the head of the teachers union hoping to implement a mask mandate. Instead, they agreed to stick with the current arrangement and simply make masks a recommendation. Superintendent Upham has not made a decision whether or not students will be required to wear face coverings. In some states, governors are stepping in to block schools from requiring masks for students. Some state leaders have threatened to block teacher pay if schools put mask mandates in place. President Biden is fighting the move. He directed the Education Department to use all legal authority to take action if appropriate. The president said emergency funding in the American Rescue Plan could pay for those teacher salaries if necessary. Today is Independence Day in Afghanistan. The world is watching to see whether the occasion could be marked by protests against the Taliban. This as evacuation flights continue, but not at the pace officials hoped for. Thousands of Americans are still waiting to get out, and Afghans are struggling to reach the airport through Taliban blockades. CBS's Bradley Blackburn has the latest.
Video outside the Kabul airport shows the desperation. Afghans pleading to get on planes flying out of the country. The U.S. has now secured the airport and 8,000 people have been evacuated since Sunday, a Western security source tells the Associated Press. Inside, more are being processed before boarding transports, but officials acknowledge it is not happening fast enough.
It's obvious we're not close to where we want to be in terms of getting the numbers through.
A Taliban commander told CBS News his fighters have set up checkpoints into Kabul airport to control crowds. His translator for the U.S. Army made it through with his family, telling CBS News he lied to get past 10 of those checkpoints.
If they found me, they're gonna kill me.
Yesterday, President Biden defended the withdrawal process in an interview with ABC News.
But the idea that somehow there's a way to have gotten out without chaos ensuing, I don't know how that happens.
Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell told Norah O'Donnell the chaos was predictable.
And ironically, we have more troops in Afghanistan now trying to rescue our people than we had before this unbelievably bad decision to precipitously withdraw.
In a video posted to Facebook, exiled Afghan President Ashraf Ghani, speaking from the United Arab Emirates, said he left the country to prevent bloodshed and denied reports he took large sums of money with him. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News.
Up to 15,000 Americans still need to be evacuated. According to the International Refugee Assistance Program, at least 100,000 Afghans have formally asked for help to leave their country. President Biden says he wants the evacuation done by August 31st, but troops will stay on the ground past the deadline if needed. On to wildfire watch now. Our area was blessed with much needed rain and helped firefighters gain even more control over the fires in Rosebud County. The state's largest, the Richard Spring fire, is now 82% contained, and the nearby Lame Deer fire is 85% contained. Meanwhile, the news wasn't so good in Northern California. As CBS's Anthony Pura reports, a new wildfire sparked there and has already claimed several homes.
Unprecedented and extreme. Hot, dry winds fueled by drought and climate change. Another fire has roared through another California town, leaving behind smoldering rubble. This fire in Grizzly Flats has destroyed an elementary school, a church, and dozens of homes.
It was a beautiful, close, small, vibrant community. It's nothing now.
These images from space show this fire exploding from 6,500 acres to more than 53,000 in less than a day. Firefighters face towering flames all around.
This fire is dynamic, it is fast moving, and it is unpredictable as these flames driven by high winds are blowing everywhere, including the embers.
Resources are stretched to the limit.
We have every CAL FIRE employee fully engaged in this siege.
And it's not enough. Across California, more than 30,000 residents are now evacuated. As to what's behind all of this,
climate-driven conditions are altering the environment and are making these fires move faster and make them more complex and ultimately more dangerous than anything that we faced in the past.
And what's incredible tonight, it appears everyone managed to make it out of all of this destruction alive. These survivors now join a growing group of people across the state who have no home, no town to return to. Jonathan Vigliotti, CBS News, Grizzly Flats, California.
The local utility has been shutting off power to thousands of customers, hoping to prevent new fires from breaking out. And before we take a break, most people are afraid of bees, but not a young girl who lives outside Chicago. As CBS's Michael George reports, she's creating quite a buzz at the State House.
Be super chilled.
Scarlett Harper is fearless, especially when it comes to bees.
Wow.
This 11-year-old wants to get as close as she can.
You're not afraid of them at all?
No, I mean, you have to be, respectful of them.
When Scarlett learned the bees in her neighborhood were being wiped out by mosquito pesticides, she rallied to save them.
Go make some phone calls, get some state reps on board. Let's do this.
Cold calling state lawmakers and working with them to write a bill aimed at limiting the use of harmful chemicals.
Bees are completely vital to humans. They pollinate a third of our food supply, and without them, we really can't survive.
Not a lot of kids your age would go to the lengths that you're going to save bees.
Instead of thinking of my age as a disadvantage, I try to use it as a tool. Because I'm a little bit younger, I can not get bogged down in what might go wrong.
While the so-called bee bill started off strong, it's currently stalled, leaving Scarlett even more determined to fight.
We're gonna win.
You're not giving up?
Not one bit.
After all, every hive needs a queen. Michael George, CBS News, Winnetka, Illinois.
Thank you so much for starting your day with us here on Montana This Morning.